So as an Australian, I think this video is really important for you to watch, and this is my genuine opinion and why I think we're cooked. But the way I see Australia going in the next 20, 30 years isn't good. Now, I just want to explain the issue that I have currently is that Australia has a lot of governmental jobs or government-led jobs going into Australia. And I think this is really good as it's going to boost our GDP. But the main issue I have with all these government jobs, the support worker, nurses, NDIS, all of this stuff is great for our GDP. And I think there should be a balance of this. Now, the issue I have is it's the over-reliance on the government, and the government's going to control more and more aspects of your life. And I think as someone who lives in a country, you should be free to do what you want and you should be influenced by the government. And a lot of people will be like, oh, you hate the government, or it's very stereotyped to be, against the government or whatever it is. It's a lot to do with what they're doing currently and why I don't think they're doing a great job. So the biggest example that I can say the government is quote unquote corrupt is all these billion-dollar industries not paying much tax. That's a huge level of corruption. If the government actually wanted to do and put through legislation, they would tax all these big companies that earn all the money in Australia. But whether it's these companies paying them off or whether it's just the way it's being ran over there, they're not paying their tax, and that burden of the tax goes to the working class or a large proportion of people that live in this country. Now, that's just why I think the government is corrupt. And I don't think most people that work for the government is corrupt. It's just the way I see it's being ran is that these big corporations are getting all the money out of Australia and they're not paying any tax on it. I don't think that's really fair. And if the government actually wanted to do something about it, they would have done it, but they're not. So that's why I think they're corrupt to that extent. And now the issue that I have with the government controlling more and more jobs is that a lot of these jobs aren't quote unquote productive jobs. Now, Kyle, what are you talking about, productive jobs? A lot of the new jobs in the government isn't actually productive for the economy as such. Now, obviously, these jobs are going to increase GDP, it's going to, circulate the money around. But with all this money being handed out by the government, where is this money coming from? It is coming from taxpayers. And now, a lot of these big corporations aren't actually paying for the tax, so it's coming from the middle class. That's what they're producing. That's the money coming from the tax to pay for these things. And I think that's good. I think there should be certain essential services that are provided, police, roads, firemen, etc. But the more and more of these jobs that the government create, the more reliant these jobs are on taxpayers' money. Now, doesn't sound that bad, but if you see the trend where it's going to amplify and get more and more reliant on tax for these jobs to work. So if you don't see the problem with all these governmental jobs, I would just outline it. The dependency on the government actually increases, so a lot more people are going to be dependent on the government, and so whoever is going for election, whoever is more dependent on the government is going to vote for that person. The elections are going to be based on who is giving the most governmental jobs. So when the government controls more and more people's jobs, they're going to be incentivized to vote whoever gives and controls their jobs. If you don't see the problem with that, I don't know what you're doing. The other issue is that the amount of productivity that a country or an individual has is a lot less, is everything's government run. The inspiration or to do well in your job is limited. I obviously still think there will be certain standards that they'll be upholding. The amount of effort to do well in your job is not necessarily going to be the same if you're working for a private company, as you understand that in a private company, there's a lot more ways for you to make money than if you work for the government, and the government's going to be paying you at a base rate. And obviously, I don't think that's how Australia would structure it, but in general, I feel like productivity would get a little bit weaker. I don't know the extent, I don't think it would be massive or anything, but I still think it would decrease for the average person. And then again, if everything is more ran by the government, there is less incentive for us to produce and export stuff. If everything's being controlled by the government, it's going to slowly go in this cycle where the government controls more and more and more. And now, like I said, with the whole election thing, if your job is dependent of whoever is in power, that is not necessarily a free election because they're controlling your job or the way for you to make money. The quote-unquote real GDP is decreasing, as although the GDP is going to increase because there's going to be more jobs, more money being made by the population and stuff. The amount of stuff that we're going to be exporting and selling to other countries or providing services, manufacturing, stuff like that is going to decrease. Now, if you don't see a problem with that, is essentially that Australia's economy is going to get worse and worse, to my knowledge. If no one's buying Australian things, the way that the world's set up at the moment, or Western world set up, is the more stuff you make, the more stuff you sell, more stuff you dig up from the ground, the more money as a country you get, and the more wealthy your citizens are to an extent. So the main thing that I can see is that the Australian government will be maintaining the society, but they're not building the wealth of the society. So that's the core issue I have. If you don't see where this is going, it's me talking about why socialism is bad for the country of Australia. And I think there's certain aspects that are really good for socialism, and in theory it works really well, but fortunately I don't think it does. So if you haven't seen the issue with the whole government and the voting thing, I'm just going to go through another issue that I have. Is if you're given something, the amount of stuff and respect and appreciation you have for it is a lot less than when you actually earn it. Let's just say I spent $500 on this chain, or I got this chain as a gift. What do you think I'm going to appreciate more? Me getting it as a gift, or me working my ass off for 30 hours to buy this chain? I think it's going to be me working 30 hours to afford it. Now, most people will be like, oh, well, yeah, I appreciate stuff that I'm given. There's a different level of appreciation for stuff when you actually earn it and work really hard for it. Simple as that. If people have a different opinion on that, I don't know how you can think like that. Whenever you work for something, you appreciate it a lot more. So Australia's actually already kind of done the social experiment already in their country. I don't know if they've done this deliberately or they think they're trying to help people, but when they give stuff away to people, they're not as productive because they feel entitled to do it and won't actually work for their money because they're given it, and then will decide to do irresponsible things. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to put down and lay down in the framework here. It's pretty obvious to me that giving people money and everything they need is not a good thing. There's actually a study done on these rats, right? Where they gave these rats all the food, water, stuff they didn't actually have to work for their, to live basically. Essentially when these rats didn't have to work for their money, essentially there was a lot of violence, for no reason. A lot of people were really, really stressed. A lot of males were jerking themselves off to release stress, and a lot of that females were too anxious to actually give birth. And what ended up happening with this rat or mice colony, after 5 years, all of them died. And, I kind of can see the first initial stages of that happening in Australia or in the Western world as such. A lot of violence, unprovoked for no reason, a lot of that, or a lot of feeling anxious, stuff like that. And, it gets worse and worse on these studies. And I don't think humans are any different to rats. So the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that when you're given something, you don't appreciate it and you feel the sense of entitlement for it. And if you're given something, you're not going to work hard. You have no, incentive to work hard if you're given stuff. And what that's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of unproductive people in the economy that isn't really making Australia a better country. It's making it worse and more reliant on the government. And that just goes back to the other issue, is that if more and more people are reliant on the government, whoever's in power is going to say, oh, vote for me, be more reliant on the government. And what that ends up happening is that whoever's in power has pretty much total control of Australia. My genuine opinion on what I think is happening, and I just want to share the other thing of this whole socialism thing. And I think socialism as a concept is really good, but the way I see it in Australia is that we're becoming more and more socialist for the things I've just outlined before. And I think socialism is a good idea in theory, but having all your control and trust in the government, for me, I can't personally do that. A lot of stuff I've read, a lot of stuff that I've seen, I don't think it's a great idea. And the other thing is it's going to create a lot less productive people. Country as itself is going to be not earning as much money. And what's that's going to happen is that there's going to be the poor class, and there's going to be the ultra wealthy and the government. And the middle class that I'm in, and most people in Australia are in, is going to go like this, until there's basically none. And I don't think this is going to happen overnight or anything, but I can just see it slowly but surely happening in the next 20, 30, 40 years. And if I put all my money and stuff like that into Australia, I don't like the look of it. That's all I'm trying to say, and I don't like the look of the way the country's going. just looked up some information. So in 2022 to 2023, healthcare and social assistance has gone up 8%. And if that keeps happening, that's 123,000 jobs that was in just 1 year. Now there's also education and training, which is a thing that I think is really good and should increase to an extent, but it's all government funded. That increased by 3.8%. Other things like manufacturing actually did increase, but if you actually look deeper into it, a lot of this manufacturing is actually done by the government or incentivized by the government. So in Australia, the healthcare and social assistance is the actually largest employment industry of 2.7 million people as of December 2024. And let's just say, hypothetically, half the country is employed by the government. Who do you think they want to vote for in the government, in an election? Who do you think they want to vote for? The person that's going to give them a job or not give them a job and allow them to live? Yeah, so the way it's going is whoever is running in power, we're pretty much trapped as it is. If we don't change it now or in the next 10 years, it's just going to keep going that way, towards socialism. And, if you guys really think socialism's a good idea, there's plenty of examples where it doesn't work, that rat study, for example. And I just wanted to share my genuine opinion to you guys. You're happy to debate anything like this if you guys want a part 2 of me going a little bit more in depth. But I just thought it was really important for me to share my genuine opinion to you guys and why I just don't see a future for me in Australia as itself, as the way it's going is that middle class is going to get deleted, which isn't great for the things I've just outlined before. A lot of people are going to be entitled to what they earn and not treat their stuff that they're given with respect. And the government's going to have more and more control, which is going to influence whoever's in power and keep sliding that scale more and more to socialism and more governmental control. The issue that I have with governmental control, you look at like England, for example, people are getting locked up for posting stuff on social media. Now necessarily is the stuff that they're posting on social media nice or, a nice thing to say to people? No, probably not. I probably wouldn't say some of the stuff that they say, but some people are just expressing their opinions. And I think in a country, you're free to express your opinions. If you say, I don't like this certain people, you can say that, but you're not really harming anyone by expressing your opinions, because people don't need to look at it, don't need to listen to you. And if people didn't think like that, they wouldn't listen to it. Yeah, that's pretty much the video I wanted to make. It's a little bit different to what I've been making in general, but I just thought it was really important for me to share this to you guys, as I just like sharing my genuine opinions. I don't know if this resonates with anyone or can actually get some logic from this, but if you can actually understand a little bit of this, please take it on board, what you're thinking about. But I think we're cooked as it is now. I just think it's going to get worse and worse. I don't think there's anyone that can change it. Unfortunately, I have that mindset now. I've already had that for the last year or so, but I could be proven wrong. I really hope I'm proven wrong. I hope it doesn't get worse. But the way I see it, it's getting a lot worse for Australia, and there's really no future. All right, see you boys.